Hey everybody, it's Andy with RS Xperience, and today I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana at Racecraft 1 with Kelly Jones.
Hello, Andy.
Hey Kelly, thank you for taking the time out, and I want to tell everybody about Racecraft 1. So stay tuned. I'm pretty excited about today's video. You've heard me talk about Kelly Jones in one of my earlier videos where I was talking about my driving experience and the time that I spent with him up here in Indianapolis in his simulators. And he's got some awesome simulators. You can see him here in the background. So we'll put his information in the description below if you guys are up in the Indianapolis area, or if you're not. I'll let Kelly talk about that in a moment here. You need to check out Racecraft 1. So Kelly, thanks for allowing me to come up here and taking the time with you to kind of just talk about your background and then talk about Racecraft 1, because I think it's a really cool concept, especially in these times of COVID, with some folks not being able to get to track, etc. You have some solutions that I'd like to get into so the folks can kind of hear about that. But to get started, I like to talk about stories with folks. And really the story here is, like, how did you get started in Racecraft 1? Kind of what was the inspiration or kind of the genesis of that?
Well, when I was wrapping up my Air Force career, I got into my first high-performance driver education events, track days. And simultaneously, I started using racing simulation as well for fun more than anything else. And so before my first track day, which was at Road Atlanta, I had a steering wheel and pedal set that featured Road Atlanta. And so I practiced on that. And when I went to that track day, my instructors were very surprised at how quickly I was progressing, asking, have you been here before? You know, that sort of thing. And it was hard for them to believe me when I said, no, I had not been to Road Atlanta before. But two things struck me from that experience. One is the value of simulation as a training tool for motorsports, just as valid as it is for aviation, which is a career background that I come from. And then the other thing is the similarity between high performance driving and high performance flying. So those two factors combined to basically contribute to how quickly I progressed at that first event and in follow-on events.
That is cool. That's interesting. So you just said, hey, this makes sense, like you said, in your background in the Air Force, and then using it as a training thing. So then coming up with that idea saying, hey, simulation really added some value. And then I imagine you were like, hey, others will probably get a benefit of this as well.
Something like that, almost the opposite. Other folks saw how well I was doing. There was a karting season where I missed the middle third of it, but when I came back, I was faster. And folks were asking, how are you faster when you haven't been getting any track time? And I knew then it was because of how I've been applying myself, with simulation. Basically, as an instructor pilot in the Air Force, simulation is a core part of that, and along with the flying as well, of course. And I just basically adapted those techniques for myself. And so folks took notice then, and they had a couple of parents had youngsters who were maybe 10 years old at the time. Well, fast forward about five to 8 years after that, and they approached me and said, you remember how you were doing well with how simulation was helping you with your driving? And I said, yes. And I said, well, do you think you could do that for my son or daughter? And I said, well, absolutely. This one parent, his son is Marlon Stockinger, and he was racing Formula BMW Asia at the time. Okay. And so they were based in Manila. They lived in Manila. I was based with FedEx in Subic Bay, flying out of Subic Bay, which is maybe a 3-hour drive from Manila. And so we decided that I'd bring my setup, my sim setup, down to their place and teach them about how to use simulation. And as it turns out, one thing led to another. I started writing a curriculum for Marlon, training him, and then other youngsters who were then here in Indianapolis, moving up the road to Indy, towards IndyCar. Their parents took notice and they asked, hey, can you coach my kids? And so that's how it grew.
Just wow, just word of mouth again, right? People see it and just say word of mouth. That's very cool. So we've heard a couple references. He talked about his background in Air Force, and then I think I heard you say FedEx too in there somewhere. You were flying for FedEx, I take it?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go back to the Air Force days. Okay, I believe it was Arizona. I think you were, a story you told me once, you were based in Arizona. And I think it was it F-16?
Yes, I flew F-16s for 10 years in the Air Force. And for the latter 3 years of that, I was a dedicated instructor pilot at Luke Air Force Base, just outside of Phoenix, Arizona. And so, to give you, generally speaking, I've been teaching, instructing, learning, coaching, teaching, instructing for most of my adult life. At the Air Force Academy, I was a survival instructor, drill instructor. After that, I came back and helped coach the boxing team. I was an intercollegiate boxer while I was a cadet there. And then throughout flight training, we're learning, learn how to do it, then you practice it, and then you teach the next person how to do it. And so I was a electronics combat instructor in our weapons office there, and then an instructor pilot and mission commander. So you're always I've been teaching throughout, as I said, throughout my career, using a aerospace engineering background as well. So that's also come in handy.
It's like kind of a natural progression for you almost, going from teaching and instructing in the Air Force, and then how you learn to apply it to simulators for, like you said, auto performance as well. So I think I recall one of the times I was up here getting some training, with you. You had talked about some similarities, and maybe I didn't recall it. Some similarities between a jet and kind of going through a turn and braking, and also with automobiles or something like that. Can you just touch on that? Did I make that up, or were there some things like you have to think about when you're going into one of these, G turns or whatever the case may be?
Well, no, you're not making that up at all. The dynamics, the physics between high performance driving and high performance flying are very similar. So the way that a car enters a turn, when you choose how to enter the turn, where to turn, you don't want to turn in early typically, and normally you don't want to turn in too late either. And so you choose how to enter the turn, and then how to pursue the turn if it's a longer duration turn or through a longer change of direction. And then you choose how to exit, when and how to exit. Of course, you don't want to exit too early, that sort of thing. It's the same thing with flying. Flying is high performance flying is about turn circles, how to enter, pursue, and exit those turn circles. And the turn circles are defined by whatever your adversary is. If it's a target on the ground, well, if you don't want to roll in too tight on the target, because then you'll undershoot, or you don't want to overshoot, that sort of a thing. If it's a target in the air, another aircraft, well, they're turning to defend themselves, and their turn defines a turn circle that you as a pilot need to choose how to enter and pursue that turn circle in order to achieve achieve a weapons employment zone where your weapons you can employ your weapons against that target. So, and then one other similarity too is tires. The way tires develop grip versus slip angle is very similar to the way a wing develops lift versus angle of attack.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's they're very, very.
So for you, some of this was, it just seemed somewhat natural, right? There wasn't like, oh heck, this is like this. You could draw those correlations and those similarities.
A simple translation, similar to like snowboarding versus skiing, ice skating versus roller skating, something like that.
Yeah, very interesting. That's cool. Thanks for sharing that with me. So the space here today where we're at, this is actually a different space than when I was training with you a few years back, and I've shared with my folks all the time that I've done. And I completely relate to your story of Road Atlanta, because if you recall, before I went up to Watkins Glen one time, I came up and spent, I think, a full day with you, and we were just doing Watkins Glen. And I don't know, I think that day I must have done like 100 laps at Watkins Glen. I got to the track and I'm out there. It's my first time there, so they put an instructor in the car with me, even though I think I was advanced at that time.
And we're going around the track, and the instructor was like, "You've never been here before?" No, it's like, "What have you done?" And I just said, I watched videos. I didn't tell him I was going I just watch a lot of videos. And he's like, "Man," he's like, "You got this down." Because what was real important was, all the reference points and whatnot on the track, not just, knowing how to, set up for a turn, the braking and whatnot, but, all the reference points even within the track were so realistic with iRacing. And then when I was at Watkins Glen, I think it saved me, because I only had 2 days. I couldn't do 3 days because lapping. I think it saved me a full day just because I could get into it on Saturday. They soloed me, I think, after the second run on Saturday, and said, "Yeah, you're good. You got this." So it was a good investment. And then, the practicing that we did and the failure on my part to really take advantage of the simulator. I was telling folks in the one video, it was like, learn the simulator. So what I'd like to do is really spend a little bit of time talking about the types of services you offer. Like, I see the sims in the background. I know in the past, you've talked about the younger folks, and I still think you're doing stuff there, karting and working up through the progression. But, if you will, just kind of talk about what are some of the services that you offer today?
The first thing is we coach in-car and trackside. And so our clientele range from karters and youngsters and quarter midgets all the way up through folks on their way to the top level televised racing series, be it open wheel, sports car, oval track racing, what have you. And so that's really our foundation, and our instructors are all come from different backgrounds, be it open wheel, sports car, or oval track racing. And so coach at the track, and then we also supplement that with coaching here using racing simulation, and also online with clients who have racing simulation equipment at their own location. We'll connect with live voice and live. We'll be on track with them virtually as their adversary or their observing, and also as their training aid. So there's coaching through racing simulation, which is really what we would call in the military a force multiplier, in that with the control conditions that we have with simulation, you can set the exact scenario to target the exact skill that you want to develop and repeat that as often as you'd like. So your progress here in simulation can be three or four times as quickly as it would be on track, because you reduce those logistical challenges of getting
trying to get set up. Because when I was here that time, we were working in the rain, and I think one of the tracks, you just had like pouring rain. It wasn't even just a light rain, it was pouring rain. It was really about car control, and the point was to lose control so that you can start applying the skills that you were teaching to apply those in there. And you could just keep doing that over and over and over and over again. And maybe you'd go to a track and maybe it doesn't rain that weekend, or whatever the case may be, and you don't want to be out on the track, your windows down if it's pouring rain, and you could do it here. So I completely can relate to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so then, as our clients came to our location and drove our equipment, they would ask, "Wow, I really like this. How can I, where can I get one of these?" And so another outgrowth is simulator sales, service, and support. And so we have relationships with a number of turnkey manufacturers, plus the component suppliers, such that if a client is interested in a new system, or upgrading their system, or maybe just individual components, then we offer a service to help them match them up with the equipment and at the price point and the features that they like, that suits their needs.
Yeah, because I've seen, walking around the facility here, you have different levels. You had that one portable unit you showed me up front. It's on wheels. You can take it, move it around. Fairly simple setup compared to, I think these couple of elaborate systems you have in here. So you can, you can go to the bronze level or the platinum level, I guess, depending on your investment and how you, I guess, what you want to use it for, right? What you want to get out of it. Absolutely. So I heard, virtual, I heard, on-site coaching right here. Mm-hmm. I heard virtual, where I'm in my house, you're here, or your house, wherever, right? And we're doing online. And then the other is at the track, where you have folks at, where you go at the track. So I'm familiar with you, and I know before you had one other person, or there was a person, but we were talking earlier, and you have like 6 different folks around the country today.
Yes. So we have two instructors in addition to myself here locally in Indianapolis, and then we have 3 others who are dispersed different locations around the country. So David Porcelli, he's in New Jersey. We have Gerardo Bonilla, he's in Orlando, Florida. And we have Robbie Unser, who's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So basically, wherever you are in the country, if you would like in-car trackside coaching, then we can dispatch one of our instructors, one of our coaches, and you'll have that one-on-one attention that is so beneficial.
So there you go, folks. Again, check out their site if you're interested. You really need to check them out. I mean, these guys are top notch, and they're really thorough. So if you want to gain some really good experience and up your game, I could tell you, and I've already told you the story that my experience here. Then it might be worth your time to at least look them up online. So those are the various methods, and then. So what are you touched on this earlier. So who are the various clients? You had said, track day folks, and you said, all the way up to, people doing oval racing or whatever. So you're from the basic amateur all the way up to professional, I guess, is that?
Absolutely. When I first came here to Indianapolis, it was on the invitation of Jim Leo of Pit Fit Fitness Training, one of the premier driver fitness centers in the country. The likes of Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, those sorts of folks work out there, and also junior level racers who are rising up through the junior ranks of professional racing. So Jim saw what I was doing. I saw what Jim was doing, and Jim says, "Hey, how soon can you get here?" This was way back in 2011. Yeah, so Jim asked, "Hey, how soon can you get here?" And it wasn't very difficult for me to create 2 sims and load everything up and come on up here to Indianapolis. We started out in a 10 by 11 foot room, which was kind of standing room only with 2 simulators. And during those early years, I listened to those top level racers and to learn what techniques, what skills, what lessons do the up and coming racers need. And so from that, basically refined our curriculum, constantly refining it and improving it, and gaining more and more clientele, and getting better and better at the coaching that we were doing. And that's pretty much how it happened.
Got it. So I'm going to go back to when I came up to do your training, and so if someone is interested in your training and they want to come to your location, I'm going to use the scenario, they want to come to your location. What are some of the things that do you want to know about them, or et cetera, before they come up here? And then when they're here, what can folks expect what a day looks like with you if they come here?
Mm-hmm. So key things that you want to learn as an instructor, you can almost look at it as like public speaking. You want to know your audience. So you want to know your client. You want to know first you want to know what are the things they want to work on. And so we have a questionnaire that asks that question plus additional questions that I'll talk about. What are the things that the client wants to work on? What skills do they really want to target and develop? Then we want to know about the client. What type of learner? What is the best coaching approach to reach that client? So there are some almost HR type questions in there where we ask, do you learn better from hearing, seeing, or doing? That sort of thing. What are your 3 favorite and 3 least favorite academic topics? If a person says their 3 favorite topics are political science, art, and English, and their least favorite are math, science, and something along that lines, then we'll adjust our coaching style so we're not using charts and graphs and numbers as much, more on the humanities side of it. If someone says, they come here, they're an engineering background, then okay, we can dig into the numbers and the charts and things. So that lets us know with that questionnaire that we send to the client and they send back to us, it takes about 10 minutes to fill it out. That gives us a really good head start so that we're very well prepared to reach the client right away as soon as they arrive here at Racecraft One. To your question of what a client can expect when they first arrive here, well, expect a welcoming, a welcoming instructor or instructors and staff to a very nice, comfortable setting here. We'd ask, bring your driving shoes, whichever shoes you use to drive in. You can bring gloves as well. That's optional. No need for a helmet because we're not going to do any crashing here.
Or if we do, it's all safe.
Exactly. What I meant, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a virtual crash, which doesn't involve any bodily injury for the most part. Yeah, and so bring that information plus whatever note-taking supplies, whether it be a tablet or a notebook or a smartphone or pen and pad kind of a thing, because we are going to cover a fair amount of information that you'll find that just in 1 or 2 days or one session, there's so much that you cover and so much that you learn that when you leave here, you're still digesting it. And so we make sure that, hey, bring some things to take notes. And that's, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does. And it goes in line with, my experience here. I think the first time I came up, I think I may have spent 2 days because you had the hotel was like right around the corner. You could walk to it at the other place. And it was that combination of, I guess, learn and apply. So I know there's the whiteboard here in the background and, you have some topics to cover, right? Where, there's some classroom pieces and then it's go take that. And now let's go sit on the simulator and, try to apply what we've learned. And that was the part that, I was a little dense when I was doing is, Kelly was really trying to drill me. Just here's what you need to do. And I was afraid to crash the sim car. And then he had me just go full speed down the straightaway and run head on into the wall to say, are you okay? Is everything okay? All right, well, come on, let's go.
I remember that,
I was just like, I was so timid about, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up. And you're like, no, this is the place I want you to mess up.
Exactly.
Right. And that took a little while to get in my head because it just was like, but anyway.
No, it's funny you bring that up. Sometimes that's something that we will do because sometimes a person will come here, as you said, with the notion that I don't want to screw up. I don't want to make a mistake. I want to do well. And that, and perhaps also the notion that we become so immersed in the simulation that we also, we take we consider that it has actual consequences that we would have out on the track. And so oftentimes that's what we'll do. We'll just say, look, I want you to go full throttle down this straightaway, and when the turn comes, I want you to stay full throttle. I want you to smash into that wall. And so you go smash into the wall, the car goes tumbling and all that, and then we stop, car comes to rest, and then we ask the question, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I said, okay, see, it's okay if we crash. Matter of fact, we want to go beyond the client's capabilities and the car's capabilities and the conditions to learn what's out there. What is that unknown out there, and then learn how to manipulate that so that we can mitigate whatever circumstances could happen there.
No, that's an excellent point because you're right. You and I were talking off camera earlier about encountering emergency situations or situations where you have to react and respond. And if you never had that situation come up before, you might not have any clue on how to respond or react to it. So on the track, like with the pouring rain and going through that and going through those examples of what to do when the car begins to do this, now you're starting to learn how to react and respond, like you say, in that emergency or when something happens. Otherwise, you would never experience it, right? And when you did, you probably wouldn't know how to, maneuver or manipulate yourself out of it, or to something that was safe. So no, I do recall that spot. I also like the idea of doing when you would either jump in the simulator next and you would kind of do that shadow follow thing, because then it allowed me to kind of see either a line you were taking or where you were faster, where I was slower, kind of thing where I could pick up. I remember that shadow piece too.
The ghost car?
The ghost car, sorry, the ghost car thing. That was really helpful, and not unlike the track. At the end of the day, because you kind of know, right, working with your clients, okay, let's take a break now, or whatever it may be, lunch or whatever. Then you come back, and at the end of the day, I mean, you're kind of worn out. I mean, you're doing however many laps you were doing, and you just kind of, your brain is just kind of worn out. I think the most odd experience I had was one of the last times I was up here. You had those virtual headset thing, and we put on the goggles, the VR goggles, and guys, I think I did like 2 laps, and I thought I was going to just lose my stomach all over the place. And I said to Kelly, "Hey, I'm out." I said, "I need to get up and go take a walk." Those things. I mean, the realism in the car. I mean, looking around the rear view mirrors. You could just look around the car. I mean, it was really cool. But that sensation, whatever, was just playing, I guess, between your brain and your gut or whatever, was just.
Yeah. So the virtual reality goggles are even more immersive than, say, a triple screen setup like we have here. You're fully immersed visually in this scenario and isolated. It's almost like it's one step towards an isolation tank, right, kind of a thing. And so for Air Force studies back this up, the longer a person operates a vehicle without using simulation, the longer it will take that person typically to acclimatize to the simulation environment. And so having spent so much time in your car driving and feeling your body, feeling your inner ear, your somatosensory senses and whatnot, feeling those sensations and knowing what to expect, your brain learning what to expect compared to what it sees. If you turn, you go over a hill, you see you're going over the hill and you feel the ooh, in your stomach. That's what your brain's expecting. Well, when you put on goggles and you're sitting at a sim that has limited motion, you're not replicating all of those sensations. And the biggest key is vertical sensations. That's what our bodies are most sensitive to, a disconnect between our vertical sensation, vertical motion, and what we're seeing. So you're under the goggles and you see this vertical, but you don't feel it. And that disconnect causes some confusion. And then that confusion leads to motion discomfort. Yeah. Seasickness, car sickness, that sort of thing. And so that varies depending on from client to client, the nature of it. Most clients are, I would say most, that's not to say that, right, not to pick on you or anything, but the majority of clients are, hey, no problem, VR goggles, we're ready to go. Right. Some clients will start to feel a little something, and some clients, you put them on and they go, no. Yeah,
I did like a couple of laps and that was it. And I'm sure it's, it's something that if you come back to it or you do it, right, your body will adjust or get used to it. I think it was late in the afternoon the one day we did it, and there wasn't really any time left for me to kind of, all right, let's come back to this a little bit later.
Can I offer some tips on that real quick? Yeah. So for clients for folks who are using simulation that may experience whatever level of discomfort, then what you can do, some tips, is to first of all reduce the intensity of it. If you're on a triple screen system, hey, just use the center screen, just one screen. Rather than turning the lights all the way down, have some ambient lighting up. Have a fan, to that nice cool air, and then do it in stages. Don't try to muscle your way or force your way through it. Once you start to feel some discomfort, hey, take a break. If you have a bicycle handy, then hey, jump on your bicycle and ride around your block or your neighborhood or your whatever building you're in. That'll help recalibrate your equilibrium system and reset you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are some good tips there. So folks that are out there doing this. So going back to the virtual training, we were talking earlier, I guess with COVID and everything, like doing the on-site training might not be as, people willing to do that. But I imagine the virtual training where someone's got a simulation in their place and you have yours here, that's probably been okay. Has that been going?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Historically we do about 50% of our coaching online. Yeah, about 50%. It's about 90% as effective as doing it in person. because we connect, we're in live voice communication, and through the simulation, our instructor here on our sim here connected to you in your sim at your location, where we can select whichever camera view we want. It can be a trackside view. It can be a camera view where we can pan the camera all around your vehicle. It can be in cockpit, looking at the same thing that you're looking at, and also the different onboard cameras that you can place around the car that you'll often see on television broadcasts. A camera looking over the spoiler, the wing off the back of the car or off the side of the car, that sort of thing. And so we're there, we're there with you, and then we can be in a car on the track with you, driving lead follows or as your opponent, that sort of thing. So it's pretty amazing what those clients are amazed when they find out what those capabilities are as far as online coaching.
Right. No, I find that fascinating. Sorry, I just got kind of sucked up in the story there because I'm running in my head going, I need one of these simulators in my basement. So again, folks out there, and I know there's several of you out there that have these simulators at home, and if you're looking to pick up some coaching on the simulator, again, this might be an opportunity for you to at least do some research and investigate and see if that might be right for you. It might be another option as opposed to if you have limited track days and whatnot. The thing that's also fun about it is, depending on your location in the country, you may want to visit a track that maybe isn't as practical for you to physically go visit that track or get there. And then through the iRacing, and this now with yours, but I mean, to get some training on that track, that's another pretty neat capability too, is I can practice my home track, but I can just go, I want to work on Road Atlanta, or for me, I need to get to VIR. I haven't been to VIR, and it's like, you need to go to VIR. Well, I'd be here first before I went to VIR. I'd definitely be up here for a day or two before I head out there, because it just makes sense to, I like to prepare and, know and plan. So when I get there, it's not as much.
Real quick, just some more information, more to that note. One of our clients, he's now principal of one of the Formula One teams, one of our former clients, and he has a car collection that he would go vintage racing with his different cars in his collection. And so so for example, one year he was going to race in the vintage Le Mans race, which they hold before the 24 hours of Le Mans. So what did we do? Well, his location, we connected to his sim, we set it up with Le Mans and a representation of his car that he's going to be driving there, and we coached him at Le Mans so that when he did actually go to the track, he was much like your experience at Watkins Glen. Hey, he spun up, ready to go, relaxed, comfortable, and got so much enjoyment out of his time on track.
That's awesome. That's got to be pretty fulfilling to you too, I got to imagine, when you can help all different kinds of folks and do that stuff and then get that feedback. That
absolutely. I mean, that, for myself and our other instructors, that's a huge part of our reward for what we do. And that is when our clients come back and say, dude, I had so much fun, and it was just awesome being there and being so familiar with the track and the surroundings, and I did so much better than I would have done otherwise if I had just gone there starting cold. So.
Oh yeah, I know for me it made a huge difference that weekend. Enjoyable versus, I probably would have gotten a day or a little more than a day out of it had I had nothing, and probably would have been, maybe a little timid too, just not, knowing the track or knowing the capabilities of the car around the track and whatnot. So if someone's, I know I mentioned the website earlier, but if someone wants to get in touch with you or, they're interested in doing it, what should they do?
www.racecraft1.com. So there you have links to our scheduling portal. It has, of course, our contact information, both phone, email, and our physical address here in Indianapolis. And so through that, you can, give us a call, drop us an email. And if you're convinced that you actually do, already that you do want to sign up, then go through our scheduling portal and put in your availability, and it'll show you our availability for our different instructors, and you can schedule it that way.
Awesome. There you go, guys. You got the information, and I got to get back up. Back up here because I haven't been out much in my car on track this year, obviously. And now he's got this new home with several new toys in the shop. I think I'm going to have to come and check it out. So, hey, folks, if you like the content, you like the information here, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're notified when I put out new video. And stay tuned for some more. And Kelly, hey, man, thanks a lot. I appreciate your willingness and to take the time up here. I always learn, if it's even just tidbits every time I talk to you. I'm always picking up some other information.
That's awesome, Andy. Yeah, really pleased that you were able to come up and we were able to do this interview.
Yeah, awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you. We'll see you again soon.